Let's talk Tanya for the 12th day of the second Adar. Today we begin chapter 37, and in the past chapter, in chapter 36, so the Alter Rebbe told us about this big idea that the reason why God created this world and all the worlds, the reason why everything exists, is because of God's desire to have a dira b'tachtonim, a dwelling place over here in this world, in the lowest spiritual realm. So we spent the entire chapter talking about what God wants, but now the question becomes, how does that happen? So God created the world. He put us down over here to create this dwelling place for him. And how do we do it? So the answer to that is that first we have to understand what's the problem. Why isn't this world currently a dwelling place for God? Why doesn't God feel at home right now? And the answer is that this world is a world which is comprised pretty much completely of klipa. Klipa is a concept which we've encountered earlier on in Tanya. Loosely translates as the forces of anti-holiness or non-holiness. But the word klipa literally means a shell or a husk. And that is because everything ultimately is an extension of God. Everything that God created is created in order to serve him, it plays a part in God's greater agenda. But that's hidden. When you look around the world, you don't see that. You look at objects, you don't see that they're an extension of God. You don't see how they are really a product of the divine intention. And our job is to rip away the husk, rip away the shell, the klipa, and to reveal the truth within everything. And how do we do that? We accomplish that by doing mitzvahs. And specifically when we do a mitzvah with a physical item. So we're taking a physical item, which is right now being sustained by the forces of klipa, which is why it doesn't advertise its truth. It doesn't advertise its godly inherent nature. And when we do a mitzvah, we are ripping away that lie, we're ripping away the facade and revealing what it's for. So the Alter Rebbe in today's Tanya gives two examples. Example number one is when we take parchment and we write on it a Sefer Torah, a Torah scroll, or tefillin, or a mezuzah. So this parchment originally was an animal hide. And an animal certainly doesn't reveal godliness here in this world. It hides godliness. But then we take the animal hide, and when we use it for a mitzvah, so right now what we're doing is we're taking a certain part of the world, an aspect of the world, and we are making it a dira b'tachtonim, a home for God. Suddenly God feels comfortable within this aspect of the world. And the second example the Alter Rebbe gives in today's Tanya is an esrog. So you take an esrog, that's the fruit that is taken on the holiday of Sukkot. And when we use the esrog, once again, we're taking something which was previously in the realm of klipa, and we're elevating it through doing a mitzvah with it. Now, as we learned earlier on in Tanya, our ability to do a mitzvah with something or to elevate an object which is made of klipa is provided that it is klipas nega. Klipas nega is the more benign level of klipa. Then there is a lower level of klipa called gimel klipas hatmeis, the three absolutely impure klipas, and those can't be elevated. And that's true also in these objects. So, for example, the parchment, it has to come from a kosher animal, because a kosher animal is klipas nega. If it comes from a non-kosher animal, the mitzvah was not done, and we did not create any dwelling place for God over here in this world. The same thing is with the esrog, the fruit. There's a rule in the Torah that the first 3 years after years of harvest of a tree, so the fruit are what's known as arla, which is forbidden. So once again, an esrog can't be arla, because if it's arla, then it's gimel klipas hatmeis. It is the three completely impure klipas which cannot be elevated. So what we're beginning to understand over here is something very deep about mitzvahs. And that is, as our sages tell us in Pirkei Avos, schar mitzvah mitzvah. The reward of a mitzvah is a mitzvah. Now, that has also a simple meaning, but in a deeper level, what that means is that the mitzvah itself creates its reward. Me doing the mitzvah actually creates the reward. What is the reward? The reward is Mashiach coming, which is when we have the realization of dira b'tachtonim, when God has a home here in this world. And every time I do a mitzvah, I am actually creating that dira b'tachtonim. It's not as if I do a mitzvah and God says, I'm going to reward you with dira b'tachtonim. No, the mitzvah is actually how we create the dira b'tachtonim, which that imbues mitzvahs with so much more meaning, and such a greater meaning. They're not some sort of meaningless, contrived behaviors, which God says, okay, I want to reward you, do this. It's an inherently a meaningless act, waving that esrog or writing some words of the Torah on parchment, but I'm going to reward you for it. No, actually, that which we do when we do a mitzvah is very meaningful, and it's actually creating the reward. In tomorrow's Tanya, we're going to see how the elevation that we cause in this world, how much of this world we elevate when we do a mitzvah, goes further and beyond that which we learned about in today's Tanya.